We're talking top 10 Dynasty and really redraft as well. Rookie wide receiver rankings. We need to mix this up and comb through it again. Because the last time we did this, a lot of news has broke since then. A lot of really the combine, amongst other things, interview processes and all that stuff. We got to break it all down and decide who our number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, straight on through 10 rookie wide receivers are for 2026 and beyond. We'll talk redraft, we'll talk dynasty, we'll talk upside, we'll talk safety. That show, the Fantasy Football Show, begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
I'm excited for this show because a lot's changed, but at the same time, a lot has stayed the same with our rankings. And I think a lot of people are kind of coming around, or you've got other, avenues of content and news and haters that are trying to drag down Carnell Tate because of his 40 time, or Jordan Tyson because they're worried about his injuries. But what we're here today to do is talk about all sides and all angles. And of course, I'm going to talk about the negatives that go along with Jordan Tyson. Really, it's only the injury concern. And how concerned are we? And how much of it is noise? And Carnell Tate, there's no concerns at all. Really, it's just a matter of Tyson's got a tad bit more upside because he has some intangible skills, that ball tracking skills, and a lot of the same skills that Tate has anyway, on top of some additional ones that if he stays healthy, which again is the caveat, but it's not as big of a caveat as I think for me, that it is for other people. The sky's the limit for both of them. And without kind of ruining the first two players and breaking down each before I decide what I'm thinking, I'm going to go ahead and put both Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate kind of in a tie right here at the top. And I know ties aren't necessarily always the most fun way to do this stuff, because it almost feels like you're not taking a stance or putting your cojones on the table. But situation's kingmaker here. And situation we'll just put tied for first, and I'm going to get rid of the two. Situation could either make Jordan Tyson CeeDee Lamb, or it could make him a backseat wide receiver to, let's say, a Olave, or maybe he goes to the Cleveland Browns and Carnell Tate goes to the most ideal of situations. And from a dynasty perspective, that would be KC. From a redraft perspective, it might not be KC. Or it could be if Rice gets suspended. There's so many different ways to look at this. We broke this down the other night between Tate and Tyson, kind of doing a Carnell Tate video. But we'll do it again. We'll break it all down here. I'm just going to say, and Hammer dropping a 50 watt over on the Rumble side of the fence. Appreciate that, guys. File on in. Any super chats will be handled in order in which they're received. But let me just attack this first, and then we'll get into the super chats, and then we'll open up the phone lines. If both these guys landed in the most ideal situations, and let's call Carnell Tate KC, and let's call Jordan Tyson Washington. Those would probably be the two best situations. Tennessee could be pretty good for one of them as well, but I think I'd rather have Jaden Daniels throwing to Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson than I would. Miami would also be a pretty good spot because I believe in Malik Willis. I believe in Achane. I believe that if you replace Waddle with Tate or Tyson, the offense gets better than when they had Waddle on roster. It's weird how everybody thinks that Miami's trash. If Miami drafts Tyson or Tate, they're back ahead of where they were. The Tate and Tyson are better than Waddle. So that it actually could be a pretty interesting situation. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, as of this moment, I still feel like I'm slightly in favor of ranking Tyson in front of Tate. But again, situation will be kingmaker. And there is a world where both of them are top 12, top 9 to 15. If you want to dip into the top 10 and say 9, I think we give ourselves a little bit more of a floor, a deeper or a further down floor, like 15, a weaker floor, if you will, because we're lumping both of them higher. And so I think one of them would probably most likely not meet the expectation. So we're going to put one at, possibly getting that 8, 9, 10 CeeDee Lamb, next CeeDee Lamb type of wide receiver. Upside for more, but that would be like the ceiling value you'd want to put in place, the ceiling value you'd want to bank on, not the mid-range value or even the floor value. But one of these guys is a top 10 wide receiver. Could both of them be? We'd have to have ideal situations, occur and unfold on draft day. Here's the NFL draft board. Let me put it up on screen here. Again, if we're talking Carnell Tate to KC and we're talking Washington getting the other, or Washington takes Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson goes to Kansas City, or Miami gets Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate goes to Washington. If it went that way, I'd be team Carnell Tate being the number 1 overall wide receiver, and I still love Jordan Tyson. But that's why it's Kingmaker. The situation is truly Kingmaker. That's how good Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson are. They're both neck and neck, close enough that a landing spot will determine their fate a little bit more than the talent can overwhelm. Wide receiver 3 is the real tricky part because, Mekhi Lemon's often ranked the number 1, which is head scratching to me. The guy failed miserably in all of his interviews, and it was so bad that certain front office and connected, suits of the processes that took place interview wise at the combine and just all the chatter, multiple high-ranking decision makers said that whoever was in charge of prepping Lemon should be fired on site. And another said they didn't understand what he was trying to accomplish in his interview process. Another said it was the worst interview he'd ever seen. And it was multiple. It was one after the other. And you just got to wonder what's going on with the guy. And if he can't get through simple interviews where teams are left going, I don't know what this kid's motivation is. I don't know what he's thinking. That is concerning. And on top of that, he's small. He's not fast. Yes, he's great, got great data and man coverage, blah, 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 blah. You hear it all over the place. Smitty, I heard. Let me repeat it as if I know it. Let me repeat it as if this is information that I'm not repeating like a parrot. He is so good in man coverage, Smitty. Or, I'm sorry, zone coverage, Smitty. He's so good. Not good in man coverage, good in zone coverage. Great, fantastic, amazing to hear. Guess what? He's going to get manhandled at the line of scrimmage in the NFL. And that doesn't mean he can't be a solid player. It just means he's not in contention for the 1 overall wide receiver spot, ladies and gentlemen. He is in contention for 3, but I don't even have him 3. The landing spot could make him 3, and I reserve the right to change all of these once the landing spots land. I just have the balls to come out here and rank him pre-landing spot and rank him pretty aggressively. But if the landing spots change, of course my advice is going to change. That's not flip-flopping, that's adjusting and adapting. Now, out of the gate, the next 2 best wide receivers, in my opinion, are Cooper Jr. and Bell. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I really don't care. I mean, I care about what the OG's thinking here, and I don't mean it but the haters out here that think, oh, you don't have Lemon 1. What's wrong with you? I don't have Lemon 2 or 3. Now, Chris Bell, amazing wide receiver, tore his ACL in December. If he hadn't tore his ACL in December, we'd probably be talking about him in this group right here, with some people making the Mekhi Lemon claims that, oh, Bell should be 1, Bell should be 2. Bell's fantastic. Bell is the closest thing to A.J. Brown in this draft, period. You watch Chris Bell highlights and you think to yourself, is that A.J. Brown? What is this guy doing? Not flying up radars and draft boards, ACL. And the only reason he doesn't cement into the number 3 spot over Cooper Jr., because honestly, he probably could, is we don't know where teams are at in terms of accepting that ACL recovery. Pecking order. Does he drop so far that a team that doesn't necessarily need him, they grab him and he's not in a position to ever climb into the number 1 spot, at least anytime soon? Those question marks of landing spot tied directly to his ACL recovery make it hard to rank him higher than this. But he's certainly capable of it. He's capable of being the best wide receiver in the class, to be honest with you. But it just, right now, because of the volatility in team, consideration and draft capital and all of that, because if he goes later, draft capital's not good. Now you have a player that's not, teams are not as invested in. They're not as, rushing him into the lineup. And who knows what he's capable of doing, from Jump Street. And so we just got to monitor that. Setbacks, all kinds of things can happen. But Cooper Jr. and Bell, Chris Bell's phenomenal. These are my number 2 and my number 3. My 3 and 4. Tied for 1 and 1A and 1A. Not even 1A and 1B. 1A and 1A are Tate and Tyson. Tied for my number 2 spot, which is technically 3 and 4, Cooper Jr. and Bell. Both are unbelievable prospects. Unbelievable prospects. And for those that think that Cooper Jr. can't become like the number 2 or 3 in this class, I got a bridge to sell you, because this kid is remarkable. He's exciting. His comp is, throughout comps, if anybody has any Cooper Jr. comps, we'll kick him down. I'll tell you what I think of him, and we'll certainly do more. I'm going to do an individual video on each of these players. I don't know if I'm going to wait for the landing spots because we're already at April 1 almost, but I may or may not do an individual video on each one of these. Omar Cooper, Chris Bell, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and then we dig into the Lemons and the Concepcions and the Bostons, the Denzel Bostons. And look, Lemon, by default, he's a good wide receiver. No one said he was not a good wide receiver. I've said it multiple times. He's a good wide receiver. He could be a team's really good wide receiver, too. I don't think he's a number 1 in the league. He'll start off in the slot. He'll only play slot. Really, he's too small to play anything else. And that puts him in a predicament because not only does he have to overcome the playing time limitations that he's probably handed at the beginning of the season, he's got to try and earn more and more time, and he's got to also get lucky and land, and he might. And that's why I reserve the right to change my mind when the landing spots come out. Because if he lands in a place where that slot role is very vital and important, and he plays a lot, he doesn't get, sent to the bench and miss, 2/3 of the action, then that's great. He can survive and live in the slot perfectly. But that doesn't mean I think he's better than these guys if all things go well for them, landing spots and staying healthy. Denzel Boston is also a player that could, like Cooper and Bell, end up being like one of the surprises of the freaking class, because he's the big body guy that if he goes to a place where they need to feed him like a DK Metcalf in a way, but do it properly, develop him properly, give him the proper support. Let's say he went to Buffalo. That could be a great and sneaky place for him to kind of develop underneath the DJ Moore experiment this year, and then emerge in 2027 as a big focal point of the offense. So there's a couple landing spots where Denzel Boston could develop. I think he's definitely going to have some hit and miss, production all throughout his rookie year. But he's certainly a really, really good prospect, as is Casey Concepcion. I think this guy could easily, and I hate to do these ties. I hate them, but we're kind of tiering this in a way. And tiers are important in certain aspects, and they're kind of useless in others. When it comes to not having landing spots, not having information, values are going to change. Values are going to be up. Values are going to be down. Everything's going to change. We don't even know who their quarterbacks are. You have to kind of use tiers. I think it's ridiculous to rank these guys outside of tiers until we have landing spots. But I also think it's ridiculous to not have the balls to come out and rank them. So I'm ranking in tiers. You can not like it. You can like it. I don't really care. But this is the tier. Lemon, Concepcion, Boston, any one of these guys could be the leader of that tier or climb into the tier above. Cooper, Bell, tier 2. Either one. Both of them could climb into this tier. Neither could climb into this tier. Both could fall down to this tier. It's all about landing spot. Landing spot is kingmaker. And if I had to throw out a couple other names, just because we've run out all the players that I dragged on screen, you got Brazel, you got Bernard. I love Jeremy Bernard. Honestly, this is one of those rankings that Bernard could be trash if he doesn't land in an amazing spot. But I love the kid. I think he's a sleeper of this class. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need 3 more. I think Bernard is great. Brazel's pretty damn good. I love Malachi Fields a ton. I also love Hurst. If Hurst finds a great home, he could be really intriguing. Hurst, Brazel, Jeremy Bernard, Malachi Fields. These are probably the next guys up, I would say. And if I had to pick my favorite, I think it's Jeremy Bernard. But I love Malachi Fields. It doesn't feel like he's going to land in the best spot. Just my gut tells me based on the combine and in the field. Brazel and Bernard and maybe Hurst have the best chance to maybe get into the best position. I love Hurst if he's in the right spot. Who else? Branch is really nice. Lane is okay. Williams is pretty good. All these guys, Surratt, it just kind of depends. This is such a grab bag. I could keep throwing names into this group. I will actually just throw the names. I don't even know if I have the full graphic. Let me see if I can find. 1 second. Let me grab this real quickly and put this on screen. So we'll just put some names. I don't know if I have graphics somewhere, but I don't want to take too much time searching. So let me grab this text and just replace this out and put this as, we'll go Williams. We'll throw Williams on here. Williams is not a bad wide receiver. Throw him here. Just it's all about situation. Situation. I hate to keep saying it, but it's kingmaker. It is the deciding factor as to where these guys will rank. And you got to be able to rinse and repeat. Lane is solid. So we'll put Lane on here as well. And then who else did I say? Branch. Branch is nice if Branch falls to a nice spot. But I can't rank Branch blindly over these other guys. So the tiers should tell you where I'm at before landing spot. But landing spot could certainly nudge them around. Surratt's okay. I'm not the biggest Surratt guy, I'll be honest. Basically, everyone here in this last tier, I like a lot, enough to say that they all climb into this lemon tier if the right spot was handed out. But Surratt, I'm not super high on like everybody else. I think this is a really good ranking. Lance maybe, I guess. Skylar Bell, and there's another Bell, so I'll put Skylar Bell. We'll put S Bell, just so people don't confuse Chris Bell and Skylar Bell. Skylar Bell is not bad. It just depends on where he goes. I think that's it. I don't think there's any other receivers that I feel like deserve to be, because I'm not trying to list every single one past this point. So if I missed one that's right around the cutoff here to be in this group here, I'm more so listing the guys I believe here that have the potential to go here. No wide receiver I haven't listed has the potential to go from here to here. So that's why I've left off anybody else. But this is probably the ranking I have it. Tate and Tyson tied for tier 1. Cooper Bell tied for tier 2. Lemon, Concepcion, and Boston tied for tier 3. And if I had to pick somebody, it would be Jeremy Bernard or Brazel or Hurst to maybe also be listed over here. I almost could put Bernard right here. I think I will. I'll just put Bernard right there. But this is a really, really good group of wide receivers. I think it's always coined as such a weak class. I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I think there will be 2 top 15 wide receivers at least from this class. And who the hell knows what these two gentlemen turn into? You just don't know. Look at MHJ. MHJ was better than all these guys as a prospect, but he still has something to say about that. Sure, I'm not trying to write him off entirely yet, but Tate, Tyson, Cooper, Bell, all 4 could be better than MHJ. So prospect doesn't necessarily translate. It can, it should, it often does. But discounting, discrediting a group of wide receivers because you keep hearing it over and over and over and over from the other channel, and they say, Smitty, basically, this is such a weak class, you should just trade all these picks for blind, who knows where they're at 2027 picks. That is some of the worst advice I've ever seen, ever heard in my entire life. People that say this class is weak, just blanket statement weak, they don't know ball. I'm sorry if anybody said that in the chat right now and I haven't read it. I hope nobody did. But they just don't know ball. That's how these drafts work. You think you know everything, you don't. And prospects are not always equal to the NFL player in value. Sometimes the Bradys, the Kurt Warners who don't even get drafted, the Arian Fosters that go undrafted, the George Kittles who go late. Sometimes the prospect, and those aren't misses. Those players weren't ready. They weren't great prospects, but they were great players. And sometimes you just have to look at this stuff and try and say, who has the potential to grow? MHJ didn't have a lot of room to grow. He had to land, and he didn't yet. He might not. He might. You don't know. Players like Justin Jefferson were untapped. Lots of room to grow. Achane, lots of room to grow. Bucky, lots of room to grow. Tate Tyson, like putty. You don't even know what their ceilings are. Cooper Bell could flop, but you don't know what their ceilings are. Sometimes those enigma type players that you don't know where their ceilings are at all because you don't even know who they are, but they're blank canvases with tons of upside that is unmeasurable. Those players can reach the heights that a lot of people are saying, go to the 27 class. Anybody that says that this is a weak class doesn't know ball. Super chat. Let me go check for the super chats that are sitting here. This one from Hammer. Hammer, I haven't read these yet, so hopefully you didn't do anything like that. Yeah, sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, but I speak my truth. You guys know that. I don't ever sugarcoat anything, and I'll apologize where apologizing needs to occur. I don't know. Let's read what he says. Hell of a day today. No better way to close it out than the GOAT file on in. Thank you, Hammer, dropping the mother freaking $50 wad on screen, you absolute straight savage.
It's hammer time.
Hammer's second super chat of the day. That was the first one. Let's find the second one. He dropped another one, a $20 hauler. Hammer also says this. Omar Cooper's speed and strength, and in the slot, enough burst speed and strength to win on the outside. Also, he loves Cooper Jr. Who doesn't like Cooper Jr.? You watch this show, you love Cooper Jr. You watch this show, you like Jeremy Bernard. You turned on to Jeremy Bernard, you know it before the people see it coming. If you watch this show, you understand how good Tate and Jordan Tyson can be, and you understand the limitations that Mekhi Lemon might come with. Now, again, Mike might come with. As a prospect, he could become better than we predict. And you know what's going to be so funny? If someone comes in here and goes, Smitty, you're wrong on Mekhi Lemon. I'm not wrong on Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon as a prospect, we are dead correct on. And where he goes, what happens to him will either shape a different path than he's supposed to be on as a prospect, and we will identify that. That is part of the process. So for anybody thinking that you need to have the answers now, unfortunately you can't. You can only try and predict the next, what's around the corner, which would be landing spots in quarterback and environment. And then these guys take different shape. But anybody thinks that anybody should have automatic correct rankings at this point without landing spots, you're not going to. It's fun to do it, and I have the balls to do it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I can't put these guys in the rankings. Go to my thefantasyfootballshow.com You'll see the rankings in there right now because I'm not going to leave them out. I'll readjust the rankings. Go check them out at thefantasyfootballshow.com. All the rankings are embedded in everything. The redraft, the Dynasty, the Superflex. And then when they have landing spots, I will figure it out, as we always do. And you will as well. We'll adjust and adapt together. We got another super chat here on the YouTube from Overcome. Overcome says, I turned down what I project to be a mid-late 27 first for my Fannin, Watson, Dobbs. I don't blame you, bro. I assume this isn't tight end premium because it's such important information. You would have shared that with me. But even without it being tight end premium, I love Fannin, bro. If you throw Fannin into 2027 draft class, you'd probably take him right where that pick is anyway. You know, as the high, the mid. So I don't blame you at all. I don't like blind picks when I can have talent now. So I am somebody that oftentimes will not have a pick. I just won't. You know, I'll trade my picks away a lot of the time, but then I'll trade for one, you know, because I'm a trader. I'm a trader by nature. So I want to trade into the 1.1 and draft Jeremiah Love. And my pick's certainly not going to get me there in my mind. Maybe I have a bad year here or there in a dynasty league, sure, and I regret trading the pick, but I went for it. I got an injury, something it was out of my control. But I don't ever anticipate having the 1.1, the 1.2, the 1.3. So I'm trading my picks. I'm getting capital. I'm hitting the waiver wire, trying to be the guy that lands that player that I could then couple with something else to go trade a 2028 or 2027. Well, 2028 because, well, maybe you still have your 27. 27, 28 with that player I picked up that shouldn't have been a free agent that we landed and we're excited about and they got tons of upside. Example would be like a Willis in Superflex or a Jackson Dart late in a draft as a rookie, and you're able to make moves. And non-Superflex other players, just imagine anything else. But I'm about trading picks and then eventually trying to get the 1.1, which I won't have out of the hat in my mind. Opening the phone lines. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Let's talk rookies, rookie wide receivers, and discuss these bad boys. I'm really hoping that Tate and Tyson land as wide receiver ones for their teams, their prospective teams. Because if they don't land as wide receiver ones for their prospective teams, the other one that does of Tyson Tate becomes even more valuable. You got to understand that. Like if you have the 1.3, I'm actively trying, without ruining my team, actively trying to trade my 1.3 to the 1.2 because I want control. I don't want to be left in the lurch and the two wide receivers we love so much, and even these guys all fall into crowded situations. Tate goes to KC, Tyson goes to a place that's crowded or doesn't have a quarterback or whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden you're looking at the 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and you're not even sure what you're doing anymore. So, and that goes to the question of, is the draft weak? No. Is it thin? It can be, but also landing spots can ruin any draft. You know, like if the landing spots end up working out, you might have 5 absolute monsters for the future. If the landing spots don't work out, you could have some of that ripped from you. But that's the falling of the player, not the depth of the class. Two very big different points that you need to understand that are different. And so having control, and this goes for next year too, having control of your pick, having the 1.1 and 1.2 next year is going to be so important because Jeremiah Smith will be the 1.1. And then to have the 1.2, you have control over all of the running backs in the 2027 rookie class. That will be the best, the two and only picks you want. I'm not saying 1.3 will be bad, just ship it off. But it's very important to know that 1.2 is in some ways as valuable as the 1.1. This year, we don't have that yet, but a beautiful landing spot will be closer to parallel of that situation than people think. And the one thing that is likely as the sun will rise tomorrow and will set the next day and continue to rinse and repeat, this is also true. Rookie picks will always go up in value as you approach the NFL draft. And when you hit the NFL draft and the landing spots happen, things can shift because of if they all land in bad spots, whatever. But walking up to draft day, your picks will always gain more value. So let's say you're in January versus March, you're probably getting more for the 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 in a trade in March than you are in January. Because people are excited. They want to have stock in the draft, et cetera, et cetera. Travis, you're live, then over to Hammer, then over to Bruce. Travis, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I think in terms of this draft, I think because there's only like one quote-unquote elite quarterback and one quote-unquote truly elite wide receiver, I think it gets a bad rap. And because, it's a little bit light on like that, given top-tier elite talent, but I think it has a potential to be like a lot deeper than people think. Like you were saying, in terms of if people hit the right landing spots and hit the right roles, like we're looking at with receiver here, these guys can be very good on, even if they're not number ones, they can be very good. So the depth is there. It just has to be the right landing spot.
Yeah. And I think that that other thing too is even next year though, with the Jeremiah Smith draft, you're still going to have like the number 2 overall player outside of, so the number 1 running back might land in a horrible situation. So, people need to understand that can happen. And so, to sit here and act like, oh, if you have a 2027 second rounder or third rounder, or no, let's call it a 27 third rounder is better than having, or the chance at it's better than having the 3rd pick overall this year. It's not. Just because you have a shot at something doesn't. Now, if I could trade straight up the 3 for the 3, I probably would, because I do believe the 2027 class is stronger, but it doesn't mean that this one's trash. That's the whole, the whole thing is people oftentimes will say this class is trash, get rid of your picks, and this class go get next year. But that's just not the case. It's about depth, and it's about, pick for pick. I mean, honestly, Love could be just as good as Jeremiah Smith. But when you get to the second pick probably won't equal, until we have landing spots at least, next year's second. But what if Jordan Tyson lands in Washington? What if Carnell Tate lands in Washington? What if Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate land in Washington and KC? Now all of a sudden we get to next year's draft, and maybe that second running back that lands, or that second overall player that's a running back behind Jeremiah Smith, maybe that number 1 running back in the class lands in a horrible spot, and then you go, man, I would have rather had Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate. So you just don't know. And making these assumptions because you heard it on another channel or something is wild to me. Dynasty, Javonte, or Rice? That's a tough one because Rice is very volatile, and Javante's a running back with a lot of mileage and damage to his knee that makes it hard to trust him for like 5 years from this point on, or 4 years even. But I'd say if you're in win now mode and need a running back, I think Javante's not crazy, but I'd rather have Rice. Rice is a guy that, there's still a shot. He is a freaking force of nature, but it's hard to say. I definitely wouldn't want more than 1 out of 4 leagues to have Rice on it. Like if that also makes sense, because like you could have 2 dynasty leagues crumble, so. But I don't know that Javante's an equivalent in value anyway. I almost think fair market value wise, you're getting way more than Rice. So if I'm trading Rice away, I'm not doing it for that. I want more. And if I'm able to trade Javonte for Rice, I'm strongly considering flipping Rice because the fair market value for Rice is better. It'd be kind of like someone saying, hey, what's your dream car? Hired 4Runner, new tires, it works. Just total upgrade 4Runner, probably about $70,000 vehicle, and somebody comes up and tries to give you a $110,000 vehicle. You probably just be like, okay, take it, and then you trade it in and you can get more for, like, it's the same concept, you know. So I think Rice is the pick there. Let me go. Luis with a super chat, $20 hauler, then I'll go over to Hammer. Are we still trying to hype the YouTube channel? Are we still trying to hype the... Yeah, of course we are. Luis, why wouldn't we be? Also, is there any way of doing it on Rumble other than following the channel? You mean like the hype points? I don't think they have hype points or anything. It's Rumble rants. It's the tips. That's what drives, and then there's just the traffic and liking the video. On YouTube, you can definitely hype it. Use your hype points. If anybody doesn't know what hyping is, YouTube instilled this new hype feature on Rumble. Where's my hype button? There it is. So basically, you can, the first 7 days of an upload, and I believe when a live stream is done, it turns into an upload essentially. You just have to wait like until the live chat's there or gone or something. I forget. And then you'll see hype points, and you can throw all your hype points behind it. But it's like almost like super liking the video. So it's very, very helpful, Luis. But are we still hyping the YouTube channel? Absolutely, Luis. The YouTube channel, as much as I love Rumble, the YouTube channel is the bread and butter, and that's never going to change. No matter how big the Rumble channel gets. YouTube ain't going nowhere. So thank you. And Luis, $20 super chat. I got to find your animation. And I'll play it here in a minute. Let me go over to Hammer. Hammer, you're live. Thank you, Luis.
What's going on? I think I like what you have there. I would put, in my opinion, I would put Cooper in the top tier, like with those other two guys. I would leave Bell by himself and then leave everything else the way it is. I like Cooper a lot, just for how he plays. I really, really genuinely like starting out from the slot, and he's very twitchy. Like, he's not a freak. Like, all three of these guys, like Tyson is an absolute animal, like athletically just different. Tate is finesse that will just catch every ball. I think Cooper just kind of has that St. Brown type thing, and he has kind of that dog that, I mean, receivers are tough, but like, again, landing spot, but there is something about that kind of dog in you that I think Cooper has. Like, from contact, I would say probably the best of the bunch from separation.
Got a nice physical part to his game, yeah.
Yeah, they're also.
So, I mean,
they're also good. Tit for tat on this. I mean, really landing spot.
Three.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I think it's those three, and then I do think there's a drop from Bell to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, landing spot. Well, I think for now, Cooper's, just because my responsibility of these rankings, I have to walk a fine line of, if I put Cooper 1, then people draft Cooper 1. So it's more of in the content and the details. So my emphasis on Cooper and Bell's upside is plenty to wet the beak of the person looking for that deep sleeper, and the acknowledgement that they can climb a tier. Any one of these guys could climb here. Any one of these guys could fall here. Any one of tier 3 could climb into tier 2. And then not everybody has the equal chance of climbing into 4, but they're kind of just all able to kind of move around a little bit. So Cooper and Bell certainly have the capability of being tier climbers, but to rank them there would be reckless just because of the way people will take it, run with it. My explanation should be enough to know that Cooper has that upside. But yeah, I mean, if the landing spots dictate that Cooper's the number 1 wide receiver based on landing spot, like let's say Cooper goes to Washington, and let's say Tate goes to the Giants and now he's playing second fiddle to Neighbors, and Tyson goes to, and I'm not even saying New Orleans is horrible, but it's not what you want because Olave's probably getting extended. And so he's trapped there in that situation. And so, yeah, I mean, the landing spot for Bell or Cooper could certainly put us in a complicated situation of trying to value the great landing spot for Bell or Cooper versus the bad landing spots for Tyson Tate. Someone's parade's going to get rained on. That's for sure.
And one thing I will say is, again, grading or whatever, projecting receivers is so difficult, but I do feel like there's something to be said from physicality from the slot is the easiest initial install. I'm not saying that's going to result in him being the best, but I think there's a possibility he could be the easiest to get in and off the ground running the quickest. That's not me saying he's the best. I mean, I'm emphasizing that.
Well, but landing spot will definitely tell us what to do next. That's to say the least. And you know, I think that the good news, though, I would say with some of these guys, like, let me see if I could find. Everything's running slow again. Hold on a second. Let me just see if I could pull this up. Okay, so when you look at where Tate and Tyson are going, the good news is some of the most ideal landing spots are in this range of where they're going. There's a couple landmines for sure, like the Giants, but the fact that the best landing spot is probably Washington, KC, and Tennessee, maybe Miami. Those are the best landing spots by far for wide receivers, and they're all in the range of where Tate and Tyson are going. And from everything we can gather now, Tate and Tyson are ranked ahead of Mekhi Lemon by most teams after the combine. Anybody can have a different order. Some teams screw up. Remember when Daniel Jones got picked? What was it? Was it 6 overall, 9 overall? What was it?
I think it was 6.
Yeah, 6 overall.
Yeah, I think it was 6 too overall.
No one saw it coming. So like you don't know. Everyone's board is private. This is not public information. So we have no clue if someone is Mekhi Lemon number 1. But for everything I'm gathering, some of those teams freaking out about his combine interview. So I'm pretty sure Jordan Tyson Tate is gonna, one or the other will be a team's one. And so you just got to be fearful that that's why I say one of their parades could get rained on and the other probably won't, because one of them is going to land in Washington, KC, or Tennessee. I'm almost positive. And Cleveland could be another
22 through 32. I think would be amazing for any receiver.
Bell to Buffalo would be great. Bell to New England, Cooper to New England, Cooper to Buffalo. That's also, and I didn't even got there. Yeah, I didn't even got there yet. I'm just saying that what I was about to say, what you just alluded to, which is exactly correct, that all of these players, their range is perfect for where they're going, you know. So Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, Bell, or Omar Cooper Jr., they're likely to kind of project in this territory to land with the teams that are the best in the league. And so if Buffalo or KC even here, KC could take Bell or Omar Cooper Jr. here. And then Miami here could still take a receiver, and New England. These are all really good spots. Not that Miami is one of the best teams in the league. They have that pick, but Seattle might grab some. Who?
You think Bell will probably end up being a second rounder?
He could. He should right now, but we see value changes real quickly. Yeah. Like last week or two, there's 11th hour climbs that happen all the time. They're usually quarterback climbs, but a wide receiver could climb. I mean, the fall of Tate, which is ridiculous, that there are teams that maybe knocked him a little bit because of his 40, which is stupid, but because it's still fast. It's fast enough. It's way faster than Bolden or Jared Rice or so and then Jordan Tyson's injury concerns and then Mekhi Lemon's interview process. It could make some of these teams say, I don't know, but I know that we love this kid, Omar Cooper Jr. or Chris Bell, and then they say, let's reach for him here and let's, spend this KC spend this 9 on defense or whatever. And in case of well, I mean, Miami could do the same thing at 11 and 30, and man, Buffalo would be smart to put somebody right next to DJ Moore, like Denzel Boston or Omar Cooper Jr. or Chris Bell. Chris Bell waiting a year, not that he wouldn't play, this year. I'm just saying, like, as he's getting back to form, learning under DJ Moore, not being rushed,
That's
Josh
what I
Allen.
want with AJB.
Yeah.
For the Patriots is
Yeah.
if they could manage to get AJB and draft Chris Bell. I think
and
I
get
mentioned
Bell, that
that
would
to you
be
before.
yeah.
But
Where's your
because there's so
second?
many similarities too.
Yeah, if you trade the 31 for AJB, where's the second rounder for the Patriots?
Hold on.
Is it the same spot, or did they move it?
I
And then
think
get
it's the same spot.
okay.
They've talked about being willing to move up in the first or the second round though.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to
Their
see
pick,
one of the receivers we talked about be available for New England, that second pick in the second round. But
63. So.
Buffalo to me is going to be. I'm getting a little deja vu looking at this 25 pick with the Chicago Bears, and I remember saying this almost exact thing last year, going, I wonder, and I was looking at the Loveland draft slot and going, I wonder if they're going to address offense again. And
Yeah.
I do think, I don't think it'll happen, but I think it should happen, and I think maybe it's considered and kicked around and we find out about it, or maybe we never find out about it. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, 25 overall for Achane. And if you got to give up more, you do it. But there's more news about Achane potentially be getting, more calls and interest. I was going to do that live stream tonight. I'll probably save that for tomorrow. But Achane, the Dolphins have said pretty adamantly they're not interested in trading him, but that doesn't mean that they won't. So it depends on the offer. But Chicago getting Achane is just, it's unfair. Insert the Jesse Pinkman, he can't keep getting away with this Walter White meme. If Ben Johnson gets Achane with that 25 overall pick, you can't get a better player for the Chicago Bears than Achane.
Guy too would be amazing.
I wouldn't want to hear another. I wouldn't want to hear another excuse for Caleb Williams.
Zero.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, people are going to tell you they don't need excuses. He's the next, Tom Brady already. They've got sculptures of the worst,
trying to trademark it.
The worst move is ice cold. Like, why? This is the worst. This is the worst, representation of something that's going to backfire I've ever seen. Like, oh, he's cold, and now it's going to turn. What if things go awry? Let's see. Is there any way Love ranks higher than Genty? He certainly could. They're both phenomenal. It just depends on landing spot. Landing spot is kingmaker. But Genty is in a phenomenal spot. And Genty's going to have, in my prediction, a top 12 offensive line. Whether people want to believe that that's capable of happening. Look, the Bears did it one offseason. They went from bottom 10 to top 12. And Linderbaum is a very good start, not to mention, they're getting healthy and they're going to keep addressing it. And they've got Kubiak and the proper staff and a quarterback with a quick release that's going to have a healthy Brock Bowers for the first time on the team in over a year. Like, all that stuff is just, it's all the reasons why it struggled, not just because it was inept coaching, for sure. Thank you, Danny, for the super chat. Danny, to the moon. You what? Sorry, Travis, I couldn't hear you over the clapping. What?
The Bears ended up at by PFF anyway as the third-ranked offensive line.
Yeah, and they lost some pieces, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah.
The Bears lost kind of a lot overall.
They lost 5 starters from their secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Geronimo, when have you agreed with anything this channel has said? Like, do you think anybody takes your comments seriously? I mean, no matter what we're talking about, you have a problem with something. Let's stop Lemon in tier 3. Okay, tier 4. I'm sorry. I had him too high. I apologize. Good thing he's not controlling content.
You just can't tell me that, Lemon doesn't have as much risk as a Cooper or a Bell does. Like, for me, I have Cooper and Bell in that second tier as well because, they have things you can't teach, especially Bell. The size, 6'2", 222 with a 4.4 40, like, those are things you can't teach. And Lemon doesn't have any of that. And, Cooper just has some intangibles you can't teach. And,
Yeah.
Lemon has plenty of questions around him too,
Yep. Yeah, between as for the Genty and Love question, you're talking about splitting hairs at this point until we get the landing spot. Landing spot will definitely help dictate what's next, but Love and Genty, you could really say are similar prospects. So
would any spot put Love over Genty for you this year? Like Washington, would he go over Genty for you, or would you still have Genty?
I think they're still neck and neck. I go back, and I admittedly have gone back and forth this offseason.
I'd have Genty over him either way.
Watch out, says Hurst will grow on you. I think Hurst will grow on you because I just talked about him.
Yeah, Hurst
I'm not down on Hurst. I just kept talking him up. But thanks. Man, I don't know if I had to guess who was the biggest potential to rise. Part of me wants to just like look at Concepcion here and say he could really vault, but I'm not talking about these two, Tyson Tate. They're already at the top. Like they could fall or they could cement in where we have them.
The fact that Cooper had 500 yards alone after contact is insane.
Yeah, that's why these guys are in tier 2. These two have the most potential. If Lemon went to the perfect spot, he could certainly rise up and be the third. Or, if these guys land in horrible situations, like I've said before, Lemon could be, unfortunately, could be the number one wide receiver in the class. But I don't think he would. I think even Cooper Bell would beat out Lemon at the end of one of them will beat out Lemon at the end of the day, even if these guys landed. Let's say Tyson, God forbid, something horrible happened with the recovery process, and Tate, let's say Tate got abducted by aliens. So now you got Cooper, Bell, and Lemon's still not guaranteed. But I just think these two guys have the most upside out of the guys in this range. Denzel Boston, I end up just going back around and going, I love all these guys. Concepcion, if he goes to the right spot, going to KC seems inevitable. KC, Concepcion, and it's not even KC, Concepcion. It's KC, Kevin, Concepcion, because KC stands for Kevin Concepcion. So I've never heard that before, unless he's got a double Concepcion name. Yeah, he might actually have Concepcion twice in his name, maybe. But it's Kevin Concepcion, KC Concepcion. So it's Kevin Concepcion with the KC in front of it because he plays for KC. It's just wild.
The thing I was just going to say quick, I'll let you get to Bruce. He's been waiting. But
oh, yeah. Sorry, Bruce.
With Lemon, the only thing I ask the people that are like, he's the number one guy, no question, whatever. One, do you truly see him as a true wide receiver one? And two, do you believe an NFL team is willing to take the risk on him as their bona fide wide receiver?
Who?
Lemon.
Lemon.
That's the question I would ask the people who put Lemon like at the top and he's the best.
Yeah,
I think no doubt stud and all that. It's just can you really see him being a bona fide wide receiver one in the NFL?
If I was to answer the question, he could definitely be drafted as one, but it would be one of those Michael Pittman Jr., Deontay Johnson type situations where they test it out for a while and then they end up drafting another guy and he never ends up fully pulling his weight. So Miami makes sense for that. Another place would be, I could see him going to Baltimore, and then it's like Flowers and Mekhi Lemon. That's gonna be tough. I could see him going to a place like New York. Could Minnesota? Because they're so worried about their situation. I don't know. It's hard to say. Carolina. Mekhi Lemon went to Carolina. Say goodbye to the upside.
I still wonder if Chicago could take a receiver. Dunze isn't Ben Johnson's guy. We still have to remember, we don't know what he thinks of him truly.
Well, I don't think Mekhi Lemon falls to 25, but maybe they move up or something.
Probably not.
Chargers probably won't fall there either, but there's a lot of talk about them maybe looking at a wide receiver. I mean, Mekhi Lemon was expected to maybe go as the number one. Now he's fallen. He's now third or fourth, probably, or second or third at the very most. It just depends. The one team loves him. He could go as the first receiver. I mean, JJ went after Rager. It just takes one team, one dance. Like, I love when people try and come in and told you he would go ahead. Like, you didn't tell me nothing. You didn't tell anybody that thinks they come in here later and tells me that they knew somebody's going to get drafted before another player. I've never once said any of these guys will get drafted ahead of the next. If Jalen Rager can go ahead of JJ, anything can obviously happen. We can't control any of that, which is also another reason why it's so funny when people get mad about your analysis and about what a team might do. The fan base doesn't know what their own team's going to do. Clearly, that happens every single draft. All right, Bruce, real quick, then over to Hammer, then back over to Travis. And then we might close it out and get back here and do a Dynasty show. Bruce, go ahead. You're live, young man.
Here's my question. Bruce. And it was kind of, hey, Travis, with Lamar, I always said I wanted to see him get one of these two receivers, Tyson or Tate, and this is why I need Judge Smitty. Someone laughed at me and says they would be doomed if they went with Lamar. He's not good with, which is true. He's not good with receivers.
For fantasy.
Do you think if he went with one of them, if Lamar got one of them two, do you think they're shot, they're not even worth it?
Well, let's be fair to Lamar. For the first time, he did do really well with Flowers. He's a top 10 guy. So Lamar has cracked the code at least for 1 year. But because Flowers was
only played half a year. But.
Yeah. Because Flowers was so good, though, I don't know that you want Mekhi Lemon going. So, yeah, if one of those guys goes to Baltimore, it's not great. It's not great. It could be good from a football perspective, but it's not great for fantasy. So that to answer that question. Rumble to 10K coming soon. Channels unite. Thank you, Luis. Luis with another $20 super chat. Luis, forgive me for not having your animation yet. I'm trying to remake a scene for it because if I don't have an actual scene to play for it, I'm just trying to insert it on every screen I'm on. It won't make much sense of having it always readily available. So bear with me. Tomorrow I'll have that fixed. Luis gifting a membership as well. Appreciate you, Luis to the moon. All right, Bruce. Final thought, then over to Hammer. Final thought, then over to Travis. Final thought, then over to the Dynasty channel.
My final thought was a good show, and I put Lamar, even though, like you said, with Zay Flowers finishing top 10, I still put Lamar in. Hey, let's get him another weapon.
I don't hate it from a football perspective. I don't hate it from a football perspective. But from a fantasy, we're not going to... It's not the worst place, but I'm not going to love it. Because if Flowers is, Flowers is good. I don't know. I do think that Harbaugh held Lamar back a little bit. And I think that while Munkin's not there, we saw Lamar with the right situation ball the hell out. We just don't know if he has that situation this year. Just because they moved on doesn't mean they know what they're doing. But we'll have to see.
All right.
But I don't hate it from a football perspective. Bruce, you're not wrong from a football perspective. The Ravens could certainly...
No, they need it.
I just said earlier, I don't know if you heard me earlier say I could see Mekhi Lemon going to the Ravens. So I think, right, it's certainly a possibility. Let me see if I can pull up the draft again real quick. Everything's going slow, but this pick is probably pretty damn close to where Mekhi Lemon's value could fall if he is in fact falling for a lot of teams like being talked about. We still don't know how much is true and what teams want him, but yeah.
Because I was thinking when they did that, and then they had the talks of AJB. Well, I think we brought that up, but AJB maybe going to Baltimore. I was like, why don't they just draft somebody? I mean, I know they struck out on Bateman because he hasn't been that good, but I was wondering if that's what they did. They did that for a reason. It wasn't just he was injured. It's we want another weapon.
I agree with you. 10 gifted memberships by Luis, by the way, on the YouTube channel, and then the one over on Rumble. Luis, thank you. I don't know if we're doing a LeBron. I don't know if we're doing another LeBron. We'll do it after we do the Dynasty football content. It'll be like the after hours segment. But I think Luis is jonesing for a LaFlop versus Jordan GOAT conversation. So I don't know, Bruce, if you want to call in on that.
Luis is dropping bags left and right here.
All right. I'll
Membership for everyone.
Luis, thanks for the gifted memberships again. All right, Hammer, close it out. Then we'll be back on Dynasty to dunk on Luis.
Yeah, just also, these receivers, I feel like people sometimes get it twisted. Like, one receiver's drafted before the other. That doesn't mean they're better. Like, if someone has A.J. Brown, they're probably going to look for someone to maybe, work the middle of the field. So it's also another thing where people think, oh, he was the first one off the board, he's the best. It's not necessarily the case. But, no, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Call back on the Dynasty if you want to discuss football, and then you can hang up or stay on for the LeBron. We're going to have this one more time.
Yeah,
one more time, Luis, and then we'll put it to bed and not talk about it anymore. But people were loving it in the chat, so clearly it's something people like talking about. So, all right, we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right, thanks.
All right. Damn, Travis, call back real quick. I hung up. I accidentally hit the wrong button. Call back and close it out, Travis, and then we'll head over to the Dynasty. I'd like to hear your final thought on the rookie stuff, so definitely feel free to call back. Waiting all day for this, Luis. We've been waiting all day for you to wait all day for it, so we're excited. I'll just start the live stream as quickly as I can. Hopefully, I'll only be away for like 4 minutes. I hope. Travis, final thoughts?
Yeah. So it's funny because you had a very similar ranking to me, so I pretty much agree with you on the rankings. We were talking about a little bit in the Patreon today. And I think, Cooper and Bell are just deserving of that spot and moving up because of just the high-end potential they have. And Bell, yeah, he's coming off the injury, so there's some risk there. But, if that injury hadn't happened, just like we talked about with Tyson, if he didn't have injury concern, he'd be far and away the one. If Bell didn't have that injury concern, we could be talking about him as the, number 2 guy right there with Tate.
Bell's crazy.
And the only thing I was going to ask was Boston. How do you feel about him? Like, is there any fear there could be a little Keon Coleman with him? I feel like he's a touch better coming out of college.
A little bit.
Coleman was
a little bit. Yeah, that's why he's not really. He's
similar
not,
profile.
Yeah. There's a little bit of concern. I mean,
and I still think Keon Coleman got misused. I don't think the Bills used him right for his skill set.
Yeah, I like Jeremy Bernard a little more than Denzel Boston, to be honest. But some of this is expectation.
Very he does everything well. Like he's a grinder. I was watching him talk
BBQ
at the combine, and he's like a really mature kid, and he's like a really willing blocker, and I mean he's one of those guys that comes in day one and will have a spot because he can do everything. So
yeah,
definitely rooting for him.
All right, let's end this. Get back for the Dynasty shows.
See you over there.
See you guys really soon on the Dynasty channel. The link is in the description of both the Rumble channel and the YouTube channel. So see you on over there. Luis, get ready.